This week, martial arts enter Star Citizen. We sit down with Global Head of Production Aaron Roberts to discuss all things Foundry 42. And we explore the origins of our 3D printed Retaliator with Mr. Combustible in the wonderful world of Star Citizen. Also, what happened to my art sneak peek? All this and more in this week's Around the Verse.
That was a hell of a flip.
That was a hell of a flip, and it exploded.
That's as such things do, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. It's time for another episode of Around the Verse for your weekly dose of Star Citizen's updates from Cloud Imperium Games headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Sandy Gardner.
I'm Ben Lesnick.
And Ben, what can we do in Star Citizen today?
Well, it's not all backflips and explosions, although there are a fair number of explosions. We've got Arena Commander, which is our single-seat dogfighting battle system. We've got Area 18, or ArcCorp, which is our sample planetary environment where you can walk around and look at different shops and interact with players. And then the real meat of the game right now is in Crusader, which we also call our mini persistent universe. That lets you fly over 30 of our different ships, some of them with multiple crewmen at once. You can fly missions, you can land and engage in FPS combat, you can explore distant regions of space and see how Star Citizen is really coming together.
That is quite a lot going on. And what is the team currently working on today?
Well, the team has just locked down Star Citizen Alpha 2.3, which introduces the flyable Jean Scout and the hangar-ready Starfarer, as well as some other systems, bug fixes, balance changes. And we put that out to the PTU, our public test environment, at the end of last week. And we are getting ready for the live release, which should be hopefully very, very soon. And once that happens, the team will move on to Star Citizen Alpha 2.4, which will include some new surprises.
2.3 to the PTU kept us very, very busy last Friday with the addition of the Jean Scout flyable. Have you had a chance?
I have not had a chance to fly the Jean Scout yet, but I did get to look around the Starfarer.
Starfarer is also hangar ready, and it is a huge ship.
It is a lot bigger than we ever intended. Back at the very, very start of this thing, when it was just a couple of us in a room coming up with ideas, the intent for the Starfarer was that it was essentially going to be the diligent fuel transport from Wing Commander, you know, like a truck cab with a big tank in the back of it. But we sent it to Foundry 42, and they made a much larger ship.
Yes, and check out this special video that we made.
So this one, you can actually go prone in this one. You can go to the maintenance room just like this. If you're not really...
Okay.
Yeah. So you're forced to be crouched in this space, but
There we go. Okay.
this is a true maintenance corridor.
So you'll have all sorts of access to components down here. So where these big boxes are on the wall, these will be replaced with the actual ship components when they come online. So this is where you'll be going to repair damaged components.
This has been a popular question. We'd like to mention that everyone who has purchased a Starfarer Gemini in the past will get a standard Starfarer to look around in their hangar as a loaner ship.
And one thing that may have been missed in all the hype was a very cool behind-the-scenes look at Andy Serkis.
And he's going to be playing a Vanduul leader in Squadron 42, our cinematic single-player adventure. And it was just really exciting for the team to be able to work with someone whose name is essentially synonymous with motion capture. But here, take a look at a sample.
He and Patrice speaking in another language is pretty cool.
Yes, and as Chris mentions in that interview, we're going to be getting the work we did in the Vanduul language out to the public so everybody can learn to speak Vanduul.
The Vanduul Lightfighter blade also went on sale this weekend. The blade is the Vanduul clan's dedicated light fighter, the equivalent of the Southie or Darket from... Ben, you're trying to get me to say Wing Commander ships again? It sets me up every time, and I just read straight off the thing.
Yes, I was guilty as charged. But the blade is pretty cool. It is the Vanduul clan's dedicated light fighter. But one of the things we get over and over from people is, how can we have more Vanduul ships to fly? How can we have more Vanduul ships to fly? And we wanted to come out with a ship that didn't make it too easy to get them, but gave everybody the opportunity, since they've always been number limited in the past. So if you are looking for a Vanduul ship, this is your opportunity.
And it was developed by Foundry 42, actually, for Squadron 42, right? So.
Yes, in fact, all of the Vanduul ships, from the smallest blade to the largest king ship, were put together by Foundry 42, and they're pretty cool.
Our designers are currently answering your questions on the blade. The first Q&A went up yesterday, and an additional post will hit the comm link tomorrow.
So if you have any last-minute questions, post them now to the forums, and we will consider them.
Yay. And Star Traders is heading into its final days of crowdfunding. If you're interested in a fun board game or supporting some Star Citizen veterans, take a look. And a special thank you to David and Ryan for my doppelganger.
It's a cardboard stand-up.
Oh, no. Anytime I need a stand-in, I can just put that there.
Well, you're a better actress.
Why, thank you.
No, David and Ryan have been doing a really great job with this Kickstarter. We, crossing our fingers and hope it makes it. We'll all be watching. I got to sit down with David for an after-hours interview earlier this week.
Check it out.
Stand up.
Yeah, a stand is supposed to stand.
She might knock down a light if she stands up. But by the way, thank you all very much for this gift. This has been very popular in the office.
I want to see a series of pictures.
Tickets for CitizenCon went on sale this Friday, and they're all gone. We're not saying that so that we can be a tease, but rather we will have a live stream so that everybody can join in.
Yes, if you missed out, you will still get a chance to experience everything, and we can't wait to hang out with everyone in person. It's always the best day of the year for us.
It is. It's always a fun event. We also put printed star maps up for sale, and I think as of writing this, they may all be gone too, but hopefully not. Otherwise, that becomes a big tease. Grab them while they're hot.
But if you really need your Star Citizen merchandise fix, customized dog tags are still available. Finally, we'd like to welcome Tyler Wicken to the community team. Many of you may know him from his work as a senior QA tester in Austin. He's going to be our next community manager, and you can expect to see him out there on the forums.
Yay, and he's coming here next week to hang out with us and go over stuff.
Yep, we'll have him on the show, and we will, warn him what he's up against.
So be nice. Now let's check in with our individual studios to find out what they're up to in news from around the verse.
Everyone, welcome back to sunny Los Angeles. I'm Darren Vorlick, production coordinator of Cloud Imperium Games Los Angeles, and we've got one of our new members with us today.
I'm Justin.
Got Justin Wentz, which you're part of which team?
I'm part of the concept team, new concept artist.
There we go. So for this week, with the tech design team, they're working on the Xi'an Scout, making it flight ready. So you guys saw it in the hangar recently. So the next step after that is making sure you guys can get it and fly in it. So that's an exciting step that we're looking forward to. And with Justin, he's got two exciting pieces that he's working on as a concept artist. What do you got?
Well, I'm working on the big cargo ship Caterpillar. At the moment, figuring out the crew quarters, so I'm working on a couple pieces for that large room at the moment.
So concepting the Caterpillar, how big is that thing going to be?
I don't remember the unit size. It's really big.
And the crew quarters is basically where people are going to be staying in, correct?
Yep, yeah, we got some nice bunk beds in there, kitchen area, bathroom, eating area, all that.
Nice. So as you can see, it is gradually expanding. We're accommodating a lot of the player universe type stuff. So once again, that's all we got for Los Angeles. I'm Darren Vorlick.
I'm Justin.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, Jake Ross here, producer of the Austin studio, and I'm here with you this week to talk a little bit about what we got going on here. So first off, want to talk about hangar storage, along with shopping, which is coming out here in the near future. We want to give you guys the ability to actually go into shops and purchase things and things like that. So, but with purchasing things, the next part of that is obviously where do you put the things that you purchase. So we're now kind of getting into the design phases of what we're calling remote storage, which is basically where things that spaces that you can kind of have to store your things remotely. It's pretty self-explanatory. So part of that is also in the hangar. So we want to create spaces in the hangar where you guys can, once you buy things like you can have them delivered to a space in your hangar that you can then access. So we're kind of in the initial design phases of that, so that we can kind of close that shopping loop of buying and storing, and then eventually selling back and buying, selling, storing, all that stuff. So, so yeah, we got Rob Reiniger, our lead designer here in Austin, looking at that. So look forward to seeing that come along here in the near future. We've also got, speaking of the hangars, port modification. What's that, you may ask? It's a system developed here by Jeff Zhu, gameplay programmer here in Austin, that allows you to basically customize your hangar. We're finally at the point now where we're kind of we've completely revamped the way the hangars are set up. You know, they were the first things that we released to you guys, so it's pretty they're pretty old and they're pretty legacy. So we've revamped the way they're set up. We are now working out with what we call port modification, where as a player you can walk around with your mobi-glass and actually you know, if you find a port in your hangar, let's say like a little pedestal, you can like click that port in your mobi-glass and actually be able to switch out flare items. You know, we can move storage around. We'll be able to actually in-game choose which ships go in which bays. So you no longer have to do that stuff through the website. You will actually be able to do that in-game. So we're happy to finally have that coming online. Now we just need to pretty it up with UI, and that'll be in your hands pretty soon. So that's pretty cool. Last thing I'll mention is platform persistence conversations that are going on right now. So Jason Ely, lead server engineer here in Austin, we've been having conversations with Turbulent to talk about persistence and some of the things that we do on the platform side, like free fly weekends and things like that, that we want to take into consideration when we're developing persistence backend. So we want to make sure that we're planning things in a way where we don't have to put things like Free Fly Weekend on a hiatus because the back-end work hasn't caught up or anything like that. So we're trying to plan that out intelligently, so we're not interrupting things that marketing and the community team want to do with you guys. So those conversations are ongoing on a weekly basis, and we'll be supporting a lot of that stuff here in the back-end, you know, as in the near future as it comes online. So that's all I got for you this week, guys. Thanks. See you.
Hello, Tom here. I'm just on my own this week. It's kind of busy at the moment. There's lots going on. Personally, sort of recruiting for a couple of new producer positions here, and yeah, so there's plenty of teams here at the moment still looking to hire. There's lots going on with the vertical slice review of Squadron 42 coming up tomorrow. So we're putting builds into QA and really sort of hammering out all the blockers we've got on that. To get this build nice and stable and ready to review with Chris. Then there's lots of work going on the ship front as always. The ship team are always busy. They're working on some of the big ships like the Aegis and Bengal. They're moving on to the Vandal fleet. Well, further iterations on the Vandal fleet, which are put on hold to focus on these. There's some ships you'll be getting your hands on in SC Live in the not too distant future too. So seeing the Starfarer is looking really, really cool. Hope you guys enjoy getting your hands on that when that goes out for flight ready. And yeah, and like sort of the game code side and FPS code side, there's lots of features still being worked on and with the UI team importantly. So there's the player health system, there's the scanning and radar feature, there's vault and mantling. I do some prototyping with sniper rifles and shotguns, so lots of cool stuff, all kinds of stuff going on. And I apologise if it's a little bit repetitive from previous weeks, but obviously these features take a little longer than just a week to complete, so there might be some repetition, but I'll update you with any new work that's started and anything that you might think would be cool, such as there's landing in the back of capital ships being worked on at the moment. So we're taking some more implementation passes on automatic and manual. Now looking at how to get a ship in the back of an iDress. So that's pretty fun. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm kind of out of time now, so I'll say see you guys in the verse. Bye for now.
Hey everyone, Brian Chambers from the Frankfurt office. Solo again this week. Everyone's been busy. It's a good thing. Don't want to pull them away if I don't have to. For Cinematics team has been busy on all fronts. Blocking out cameras, blocking out characters, pushing on tech. Hard thing with Cinematics is if I mention anything specifically they're doing, I potentially give something away, which I should not do, which I know you probably want, but it's best to save it all till once you actually get it in your hands. As far as the weapons go, 2 weapons guys we have here, made some improvements on existing weapons, did some testing in game with some new weapons that they're playing with right now, did some updates to the pipeline, make things a little bit more efficient, pump out things a little bit quicker. Finalized 2 concepts that have been going on for a while and started on another concept. So good progress going there. On the engine side, not a lot of detail, but just to run over the stuff that they've been touching on. Continued work on the cinematics tools, which is great for Hannes and his guys because they put things together a lot more efficient. The tool work's actually fairly important because it's going to enable the guys to do things, tasks that would take a tremendous amount of time of putting all these pieces together. We can automate some of those things, and we can pull ships together in certain states with tons of animation and push and pull those in place. So it's good energy to be spent on those tools so we can push out the cinematics at a higher quality. Continued on the procedural planet tech. That's going fairly good. It's making great progress. Working a lot with the art team and understanding how everything's going to go together to work best for the procedural stuff. Pushing on bug fixing as they always do. Some on the build cache system, patching system, and crash handler improvements, which are good for us to get all that data and be able to sort it and read it as best possible, so then we can get it out to people to fix as quickly as possible. AI improvements on characters moving along predefined paths. Code for that was completed, submitted, and then the documentation was also done for that. Sabotaged equipment, again, completed, submitted, and documented. General AI balancing. So we're looking at the AI that's in there. Because it's starting to grow and get more and more and more, we're able to start balancing it a bit. So those behaviors make more sense in combination with the other ones. Some weapon accuracy for NPCs. They did a first pass on refinements for those. And also pushing on subsumption that you've heard Francesco and other guys talk about in the past. Level design, we had Andreas, he's working on Big Landing Zone and reworking that and getting that more dialed in. Clement, is working on a large base for PU, and that's coming together really cool. Still early on, but it's great to see the progress that's going there. On system design, we had Chris working with Francesco and the guys on AI behaviors. He's prototyping stuff, implementing stuff. Once the AI bits get done in the code, then he can start playing with them, see how they work back and forth together. That's when Francesco and the rest of the AI guys can start tuning and playing with those to get them where they need to be. We had Greg, which is the newest guy for the system design team, working on subsumption and interactors, brainstorming on radar and kind of what all that means around there. And he was doing some work on a Squadron 42 big fight, which I can't tell you about. And Dan was away for a couple of days on vacation, but when he came back, he was working on Reputation. I guess they're calling it Reputation 2.0, pushing it more. And he was also working with Greg on the radar brainstorming. I think that is it for the team. On effects, they're continuing to push on effects. I didn't get a lot of visibility into that so far this week, but sometimes with that, no news is good news. Just pushing and getting done what we need. So besides that, a lot of meetings, but making great progress across the board. Again, thanks to all the backers for all their support, all the words. We had some backers in this week, which was cool. A whole group of 10 guys came in and hung out with the team, which is fun. It's always good to see the support. It's great for the team because we get pumped up seeing how excited everybody is. So thanks again, and see you next week.
Next up, Jared sat down with our global head of production, Aaron Roberts, to chat all things Foundry 42 in this week's A.T.V interview. Check it out.
Thanks, guys. On this week's A.T.V interview, we're sitting down with Foundry 42 studio director and global head of production, Mr. Aaron Roberts. Aaron, how you doing, man?
It's good to see you again.
Good. So thanks for taking the time to be on the show here. You're only in town for this week, and you've been very busy. You've been in meetings with Ricky and Tony and discussing all manner of...
Yeah, we have Todd in town as well, just doing a bunch of design stuff on the persistent universe side of things.
Very cool.
So working on everything like that, and but yeah, it's been great being here and seeing the new office take shape. It's fantastic.
It's getting there. I think we're not quite in final art yet. I think we're past gray box, but we're getting there. We'll be flight ready here real soon. So I wanted to talk to you about Foundry 42. Since you guys came on board, we've gained hundreds of thousands of new citizens, and we don't always get to showcase the work that you guys do because our community department is located here in LA. So I wanted to take the time to really let people know what Foundry 42 is, what they contribute to Star Citizen, and then maybe at the end of this take a peek forward. So why don't you let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
What were you doing before Foundry 42?
So I was working before I joined the great team here, I was working for 10 years on the Lego games. And we were working on all the games such as Lego Star Wars, Lego Indiana Jones. That's kind of what I was doing, and that was I came back to the UK from the US about 10 years before, and that's when I started working with Traveller's Tales and having a great time there, doing stuff with them.
I remember the very first time we met, Ben gave me crap because I was in a room with you and Chris, and he was like, I'm like Chris Roberts. Yeah, Chris Roberts is a cool one. And then I found out you made the Lego games, and I made a beeline to you to talk to you about the Lego games. I don't expect you to remember that. And Ben's like, do you like the Lego games? I'm like, yeah, I love the Lego games. So it was like my wing, well, not quite my wing commander for Ben, but nothing's like his wing commander for Ben. Now, before that, even going back, you've worked with Chris on many games, the Privateer series specifically.
Yeah, no, I started working with way back, and he was, originally he used to make games on the BBC Micro, and the guys in the UK will know what we're talking about there. And before he went to the US, and then he made a game called Times of Law for the Commodore, and I helped out a little bit on that, not much. The game I really did most of my, I guess, real sort of work on was the original Wing Commander, where I did a lot of scripting for the AI and a bunch of testing work back when Origin was a very small company and we were just getting things going. And then after that, from Wing Commander, I then worked on Privateer and finished that up later on. And then it was Strike Commander, I believe after that I worked on. And then after Strike Commander, I believe Electronic Arts bought Origin, and I then transferred back to UK for a while. I've been back and forth in the UK and US a few times, and that's where I basically produced and directed prior to The Darkening. And then went back to America when Chris started Digital Anvil, and I joined him to do that, and that's worked on Star Lancer and stuff like that, with actually a few of the guys who work with me now in the UK office on Star Citizen.
All right. So you were working on the Lego games, and it's time, Chris decides, or you decide, tell me how did it come about we want to create a UK studio?
So it was, let me think about it now, it must have been 2013, it would have been August, because it was just after Gamescom, and Chris had just come back from Gamescom when I think they first showed the hangar. So it was probably about, it was just about 12 months, less than 12 months in, I guess, starting. And so Chris came back through to the UK and came through to visit me. And basically we just started talking, and we were just talking about it all, showing the stuff, and thought nothing about it, had a nice weekend, doing stuff together and things like that. And then I was actually driving to the airport, and just as we were pulling to the airport, Chris literally, I drop him off, we're at the lay-by, and of course you're not allowed to wait. And Chris just opens the door and just says to me, oh, well, why don't you come and join us? And I'm just saying, you could have had this conversation 2 days earlier when we actually had lots of time. And he just said that. He said, well, have a think about it, and then we'll talk when I get back to the States. And so it was kind of one of these funny moments where I was going, okay, and then we got the conversation going, and then it all came from there. And the more I thought about it, I really enjoyed working on the Lego games, and I didn't think I would leave doing that, but this was just such an opportunity to go and do something special in a way it's not been done before, as a challenge, in terms of doing it in this way. And I just kind of felt like I had getting on a bit longer in the tooth now, and I felt like there's one last big challenge in me, and this is a challenge. And I love challenges, and I kind of do enjoy the stress and of making the sort of stuff work. And I've built a few companies up, and I do kind of get the kick out of doing that, because I built up my studio and Lego and the Lego games up as well, from literally those 7 of us, and then we grew it to 200 odd, and I just kind of enjoyed that, trying to get the team together, working on stuff like that. And so and it was just going to get and work with Chris again as well. I always enjoyed working with Chris, because although he's a very hard taskmaster in terms of what he's demanding of what he wants to see, but that's why he makes that level of game he does, because he's not just trying to hit a certain level. He's shooting for the moon, he's shooting for the stars, right? I mean, that's Star Citizen. And so, and I like that, because it pushes people to work harder and better. And if you and if you just try and hit 50% of what he wants, then you've got this incredible level of detail and imagination and the games you're making. And so and I quite enjoy that. And we work well together, because I'm very obviously I've done a bunch of direction design myself and stuff, but I'm actually folding quite easily into much more on the sort of the production and procedure side of stuff, of making sure when we have all these issues, is then my job is to go and make sure, right, we have the right structures in place, build the stuff, go around and make sure we're coordinating properly between the studios, make sure we've got the right teams and that kind of stuff. And that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And then every now and then I get to just sit down and do some design, which I got to do today and the last few days and stuff like that, which I really enjoy as well. But a lot of it just at the moment is that there's quite a lot of travel going around and making sure the organisation supports the needs of the game.
Gotcha. Now, I'm a person, I have 3 brothers. It would give me pause if I ever decide, if one of my brothers asked me to come and work for them, because I've worked with my brothers before. So Chris has asked you to start a UK studio.
Yep.
Did the brother thing come in? How does the brother thing work?
So when we were younger, we fought like cats and dogs. Like really, our parents couldn't leave us in the house together. It was that bad. I mean, but it was funny when more probably from my side. But when I hit about 16, 17, then our relationship changed completely, and we actually got on really well. And so that side of stuff's really good. We still argue, but it's an adult argument about and sometimes it gets a bit passionate, and of course it always does. And when I think something's not right and so forth, and the great thing is we listen to each other and so forth. And at the end of the day, Chris is the CEO, so he makes the final decision. But I'm quite happy to have my opinion known as well. So, but that relation that works pretty well actually. And that kind of stuff. Whereas when I was a bit younger, and Chris was always 2 years older than me, so he was always the older brother. So it was kind of like always a bit difficult.
Gotcha. All right, so you're creating a company, Foundry 42.
Yep.
Why not Cloud Imperium Games UK?
So, because we wanted to, the reason why Chris bought us, bought us in places, but asked us to come on board in the first place, was to concentrate on Squadron 42. And so we kind of wanted a name which was to do with 42 and so forth and things. And so we just liked the idea of Foundry, because you're building something, things like that. We called it Foundry 42. It was the UK entity and stuff. And also there is already a Cloud Imperium Games UK as well, which is a different part of the company and so forth. So we're the development arm. And then basically, the development arm basically, just don't want to get into too much detail. Yeah. It basically is owned by the publishing arm and so forth. It's just all stuff
It's very convoluted. So
the development side was called Foundry 42, and then Foundry 42 is not just the UK office now; it's also the German office as well. Is part of the same company. So the whole European development arm is basically Foundry 42, and there's now I think about 220 of us now in the two offices. So it's quite a big chunk.
So you've agreed to start a company. You've got a name. What's that process like? Where do you start? Obviously, you have to find a place to work. You're in your second location.
So basically, we had a discussion. I then made the really hard decision to hand in my notice and leave a bunch of guys I really enjoyed working with. And then I just started, the location I had set up the original company was in Winslow. We loved the location. I liked it. That's the reason I picked there in the first place. It's got good transport hubs. Manchester Airport is literally a 5-minute drive away, or you can walk it in probably 15-20 minutes. There's a mainline train station which goes through the country to London up to Manchester, which is literally a 2-minute walk, from the office. And so we decided to stay in Winslow. So I just basically went around, looked for buildings which were available, contacted a surveyor, and England surveyor is someone who basically helps you get the property sorted, and then just took it from there and built it out. When I left, there was a core group of about 4 guys who really wanted to join, who've been working for me for years. And Nick Elms is creative director, Derek Senior, who's a tech director, Phil Meller, who's the lead designer on Squadron 42. And so we all kind of we got together, and so we kind of left Travellers at the same time. And then we were fortunate enough that a few more guys from Travellers, once we'd left, contacted us and wanted to join us and so forth. And so originally the course of maybe 20 people were some guys from the Lego games, but then now the company is we're like I said, I think in our office now about 170 in the UK office, and there's probably, now it's the vast majority are all people from a lot of different companies, from a lot of different countries. We've brought people back from Canada, from the US, have come over from all over Europe and so forth and things. We've got a really good development crew there.
Gotcha. Now, we announced Foundry 42 at CitizenCon that year, which was October. So between August and October, where was the company when we announced it?
So obviously from August, we handed my notice, and it take 4 weeks, and so I didn't leave and so I handed my notice at the beginning of September for a member, and so I'd finally left working Travellers in the beginning of October, and then the company ran from my office at home for about 2-3 months. So I have and so there was basically 5 of us working out of the office when we got going, and then if people remember and go way back, you might remember there's 1 or 2 shots we might have done in this sort of very small area if you go way back to the old office stuff, and that was in the old office. And so the first guy to join us there was David Gill, who we know as Bone, who's our lead UI programmer, and he was there as well with the office, and we were getting the code base and working the stuff from home. And we were working there while the office was getting built out. And of course, as soon as we get into the office, we did. And we got in so fast that literally the builders were still working around us. And we just got one little room sorted, and we just all dove in there and just put all the desks in there. And by then we had about another 3 or 4 people joining us. And there was a little thriving group of us in this one room. And then, and then I think when we finally got on the floor, there was maybe about 14 of us. And then we just built from there, really.
Now, this is one of those things that gets often forgotten. That whole first year, it's we're building the game, but we're also building the company.
Oh yeah, no, we're still building the company. I mean, yeah, I mean, and it's not just getting people in, it's getting the right people in and finding them, and then once you get them in, you've got to get them trained up. They've got to spend time learning the code base, and that kind of stuff, that sort of stuff. Also, yeah, I mean, we grew from 14 to like 170 in the space of just a little bit over 2 years, and we are very selective about making sure we get the right people, because if you get the wrong people in, it can really set you back in a lot of ways, because you think stuff's been covered, it's not, it hasn't been, you have to fix stuff up and so forth and things. So yeah, but it was like, so we've been building the company. I mean, we started on one floor of the building room, which is in Winslow. We then got the second floor last year, and now we've just got another floor, which we just moved into a few months ago. So we're on 3 floors now, and it's just this never. And then we basically decided to obviously go into the team structure. Pretty much the whole audio group, apart from there's some support in Austin, is all based in the UK. And so we then when we moved the floor, we had to then rebuild out and get proper audio suites and audio rooms and then so forth. I know some of the backers who've done visits around our office will have seen it all and the layout and so forth and things. But it's so it's always ever changing and just getting things sorted. Then you grow, and then you have to try and make room for people. And then we go through phases where everyone's just crammed in, and it's like like some sort of sweatshop. And then we get another floor, and we can just sort of spread people out.
So when did you move into that building? Was it, you said you were in
moved in the building in December 2013. Yeah. Okay.
So December 2013. We're talking 14 months since the original pledge campaign started. We've got an Austin office. We've just built out an LA office. We're just getting the UK office going, and you guys are about to take over Squadron 42 development.
The original idea was we would go and run Squadron 42. Yeah.
Okay. So what condition was Squadron 42 in when you took it over?
It was obviously. It was very basic, so it's sort of bare bones stuff and things of like the whole project. I mean, you can't, that's what when you're dealing, even having the leg up of having the Cry Tech. Obviously, the technology needs and has needed, and as everyone knows, I mean, we spent a huge amount of resource and time last year, basically making sure it could run the way it needs to run the game and so forth. So we have just in terms of all the 64, bit changes we have to make, all that kind of stuff. There's a huge amount of work we have to go through, and so you're building the code base out. You're making all these sort of changes to make the game work. And Squadron 42 is the same, because obviously it's a shared code base, and so we're working on it. So we basically started working on the assets. We came out with what the story plan was and worked that with Chris and Dave Haddock, and then Will came on as well, working on the stuff and things to get the story fleshed out. And then we have a large design. And then we started hiring designers to then start getting all the levels broken out. So we have the sort of different levels there to play through and so forth.
Well, Aaron, that seems like a good place to pause for a bit. We're gonna stop the interview here and come back next week with the rest of this talk. Back to you guys, Ben and Sandy.
You guys.
This is Mission Control, receiving you, Commander.
The Eagle has landed. The Eagle has landed. Strike Recon Team is online.
Acknowledged, Commander. Transmit identification data now.
Transmitting now.
Confirmed, Commander. Personnel validated. Strike Team assembled. Mission is a go. I repeat, mission is a go. Execute Executive Order Squadron 42. Good hunting, Commander.
Thanks, Control. Good to be back.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the wonderful world of Star Citizen. I'm your host, Community Manager Jared Huckabee, and joining us today is our two-time featurette here on the wonderful world, Mr. Chris Wolf, otherwise known as Combustible Props, or Mr. Combustible. How you doing, man?
G'day guys. Pretty good actually.
So what should I call you? Should I call you Chris, Mr. Combustible, Combustible Props?
Wolfie works, whatever you feel comfortable with.
All right, thanks, Tim. So Tim is the guy he's done a lot of 3D printing. You may have seen him before. He did his full Star Marine outfit. He's also responsible for that wonderful 3D printed Retaliator model that hangs in the back of our fan cave set. And that was you, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
I'm not misremembering anything?
No, myself and Fire Spikes
and
worked
Fire
on that.
Spikes, who was another Star Citizen fan favorite. He's responsible for all that crab stuff, right?
Yep. With butter.
Yeah, all right. All right, so crab stuff aside, we wanted to take a behind-the-scenes look at the making of that 3D printed Retaliator, because everybody tends to think, oh yeah, I could 3D print. Why don't you just give me the file and I'll print it up, and they'll have their own 3D printed Retaliator. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making one of these things, and we wanted to take the time to detail some of that. So I understand we've got a video prepped, right?
Absolutely.
All
so
right.
if we,
I don't have anybody else here. Let's roll the clip.
Okie doke. So this is the video I created for the 3D printed Retaliator. This just documents all the steps. So what you're seeing here is the entire model, and the cube is the printer bed size. So that's what I use to size everything for slicing. And this section you'll see is one of the sections. And you can see it's hollow and it's not filled in. The printer would have a heart attack printing this. So what I'm doing here is building in all the walls. So, blocking it in and making certain it's all one solid piece.
Gotcha. This looks like what, Google SketchUp?
Yeah. I'm not a very good modeler, so this is about my skill level.
Gotcha. So Fire Spikes takes the model. He cuts it into pieces for you?
No, he extracts it from the game and does a lot of processing work. So separating out various parts like landing gear. You can see one of the mistakes when you don't clean the model up properly.
Right.
So he takes a game model, extracts it, and separates all the bits, and then shoots it through to me, and I'll scale it and slice it up, ready for the printer. And then on each individual part, I'll box in and stitch in the walls.
Gotcha. And I noticed we left the torpedo bay clear here.
Absolutely. So we tried to keep everything functional. So all the bomb bays, all the torpedoes, all that should be there. And
now, how did you decide on a scale?
The scale itself links back to how much detail you want. So the more detail you want, the larger it has to be. And here you can see the printer itself with the internal grid structure. I think I scaled it to about 70 centimeters long, and that allowed all the landing gear and flaps and bomb bay doors to exist and be viable.
Gotcha. And this is made of, what is this made of?
So this is ABS plastic. I use ABS a lot because I can use acetone to weld it together. It's pretty toxic if it's if you're breathing it in, but it's not too bad. So this is the model together. This is after all the bits have been fused together with acetone. The model itself, the 3D print, is quite rough. So there's multiple passes with sandpaper and oscillating tools just to clean up the surface. You can sort of see all the detail there.
Gotcha. And you remember how long you spent on just the sanding?
This aspect, it would have been at least 4 days, just solid sanding. As you can see, it was quite comfy in front of the fire, but it's a lot of work. So this is the spot putty. So this is what you need to do to fill all the gaps. Once I get a bigger printer, I'll have less gaps to fill because I can print larger parts. So every single join I had to fill, but not just fill, I had to sand it. So there's multiple passes with the filler and the sanding.
Gotcha. And what printer are you using for this?
I'm using an Up Plus 2. I'm actually using 2. It's a really reliable printer. The only drawback is that it's got a small print bed. So everything you print on it has to be cut up and has to be sized correctly. Hopefully I'll get one with a bigger print bed soon. I don't know if you can see all the little holes and things that I'm hitting, but
yeah.
So this is
and I'm sorry. What made you decide to build the Retaliator in the first place?
Well, I wanted to do a second ship, and it just so happened that you asked me to, the information about doing one for CIG, and yeah, I left at that. So thank you very much for that.
Most people probably don't know this, and no reason they should, but I put the bill for this one. So you donated your labor, I donated my money.
Full respect for that.
So we actually started this project before I started working here.
Really?
If I remember correctly.
Wow.
When did we start this?
It's close to August, I think.
Was it August? I thought it was
bit
earlier
after.
than that.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Yeah. So this is the landing gear and bomb bays, torpedoes, and this is a primer filler. So it gives a very thick primer coating, and once again, this is step 1 of about 4 steps. So primer filler, sand, primer filler, sand.
Yeah.
You can see all the pink areas where all the spot filler gets covered over, and the bomb bays.
How do you get in the bomb bays without it pooling up?
Difficulty. You got to be tricky with the spray paint. So these are the 3D printers. What I'm printing here are the turrets and the bases. I had to redo these because they were too large. They didn't fit into the sockets on the ship itself.
Gotcha.
So it's a slow process. I think this would have taken a couple of hours to print.
Yes, I remember when we first pulled it out, one of the turrets fell out and it fell on the floor, and we had to do this whole, everybody watch where you're stepping. Everybody raise your right foot.
Oh, no.
Everybody raise your left foot. To make sure we found it without stepping on it,
Yeah.
destroying it.
It's a hard jigsaw puzzle to do in reverse. So getting everything to fit virtually and then doing the same physically in a model format, it's quite good. So these are the fins. They're held on by pins, so they hold right angle.
Yes, and I'm here to tell you there is a specific left fin and a specific right fin, and if you try to put the left fin into the right fin spot, they will break, and you will have to ask Mr. Combustible to make you new ones.
Hopefully I color matched them perfectly. So
yeah, no, they came across great.
Awesome. So this is the matte black. This is the base coat. I did a few color tests, and this turned out to be the most stealth-looking matte black paint I could find. So once again, this is the first of about 2 passes, just to try and get all the nooks and crannies.
Gotcha.
Looks very... Sorry?
Yeah, it looks shinier than it ends up.
Yeah,
I guess when it dries, it becomes matte.
It definitely comes out very shiny. As you can see here, the dried color is quite good. So what I'm doing here is masking off the areas ready for the red trim. Once I've added the tape, you just cover the entire thing in newspaper and then spray the the amazing looking red without hitting the rest of the ship. So that would be bad.
Uncle turns anger into fundraiser.
It's always cool seeing old news stories.
Heavy duty blue super wipes. What are heavy duty blue super wipes?
Chuck's maybe? I'm not sure. Chuck's brand.
I don't think we have those here.
So this is where the paint is, the tape is coming off, leaving the nice sort of red trim. And this is after all the weathering and silver paint on the landing gear.
How do you do the weathering?
So the weathering sort of breaks up the flat color, like the flat black, and it adds a bit of shade to the raised areas. So the technique I used was dry brushing. So you get a bit of paint on your brush, and then brush it over the edges, and it sort of stays only on the raised texture. There'll be a couple of close-ups where you'll be able to see it a bit better. Now the one thing that really stumped me is how you paint canopies. Like you can't paint clear, so I decided to settle on a gold sort of gradient that you see astronauts having the gold visors and things like that. So
it came out great.
I would love to see someone make a drone out of one of these. That would be amazing.
How about that? They can't make it out of mine. Mine's on the wall. Nobody's touching it. All right, man. Well, that was cool. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Honestly, it didn't look that hard. I'm pretty sure I could make one of those if I tried.
I reckon you could. Just get a 3D printer and you're set.
Yeah, that's all you need. Just a 3D printer and that's all. You just pop in the thing, you open the file, and you hit print.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with us, Chris. Do you have your next Star Citizen plan lined up? What are you making next?
I am holding out for the new armor that I may have seen recently. That's at both parts super scary and super exciting. So.
Yeah. Almost. It's so close. Jeremiah and Omar are doing some fantastic work. You're not going to be disappointed.
I can't wait.
All right, Chris, thanks for taking your time to be on the show. Back to you guys, Ben and Sandy.
And that's how we got our Retaliator.
I know, because I saw the same video. Just saying.
All right, then.
That was our acting performance for the week. Now it is time for this week's MVP. Envelope, please.
There you go.
Oh, look, it's got nice little pretty stars. And the winner is Fastcart. Congratulations, Fastcart, for being this week's MVP with a wonderful spreadsheet detailing all the various Star Citizen game packages over the years, including everything they get you and comparisons to standalone items.
Maybe a comprehensive spreadsheet doesn't seem that exciting for folks interested in visceral space combat action, but it helps us quite a bit. We showed it to our VP of Publishing, John Erskine, who was just astounded by it. So this is a spreadsheet that has impressed the king of spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Fastcart. You are this week's MVP. Moving right along, we have the Art Sneak Peek. What is it?
The Art Sneak Peek is no more. It has been replaced with a new segment, which we're calling A.T.V. Fast Forward.
Aha. We now have a new segment to replace the Art Sneak Peek. Check out our A.T.V. Fast Forward, where we show you not just art, but a glimpse of all the new systems being worked on for Star Citizen. Take a look.
Adding foley to characters has always been a huge time-consuming task due to the high number of markups that we had to do for each single animation. We had to come up with a more automated solution, and so we built a system that drives audio directly from the player movements in-game. By doing so, we recorded a brand new set of sounds. The new Foley system also allows us to add more dynamics to the character movement, as well as achieving a better sync. Here are some examples.
Be sure to tune in to Reverse the Verse tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific on Twitch. We'll be talking all about that fast forward and all sorts of other Star Citizen related issues. If you love the show or other video content, be sure to hit like and subscribe. I know that sounds silly, but it does help with our metrics. It helps get the word out there, and it helps promote Star Citizen, so we'd really appreciate it.
Ben and I are also on social, and we post little tidbits every day, sometimes on the weekends too. So if you'd like to follow us, here's the link below.
You guys can tell us what you really think.
And thank you, as always, to all of our subscribers for making this show possible. We will see you next week on Around the Verse. Did you know that many of Star Citizen's developers are on social media? If you would like to follow Star Citizen on Facebook, you can find us here.
Or on Twitter, here.
And even Instagram here.
And for a full list of developers' personal accounts they're willing to share with the community, check out this link. You can find out what I bought at Amazon this week.
Star Wars stuff.
It was probably Star Wars stuff.